Thanks to RSM for hosting us here. Glorious day in San Francisco, beautiful spot. Thanks for all coming out. As Ahmad said, I'm the co-founder and publisher of GeekWire. We're a technology news site that covers everything from small startups up to the big tech titans of the world. We love covering innovation, and we're spending a lot of our time at GeekWire covering the intersection of AI and society. And so we're going to dig into some of those issues here today. This is really at the forefront of the change we're seeing in technology. Being from Seattle, we do not have access to Waymo in Seattle. So I got to ride a Waymo for the first time. You see them buzzing back and forth here. And it got me thinking about this panel because really you have to put a lot of trust in AI and computer vision in order to hop in a car without a driver driving you around the streets of San Francisco. So we're going to dive into some of those issues. And we've got a great panel here that's going to talk about that intersection of AI and society and trust as we see it playing out. And to my left, I'm going to pass it to Davis to say a few words, and then to Abhinai of Mashgin.
Awesome. Thanks, John. My name is Davis Nordell. I'm a senior tax manager and a senior technology analyst at RSM. I come down from the Seattle area as well, so happy to be here. Like John, got to witness a Waymo, although I have not jumped in one yet. I will before I leave here. At RSM, one of the things that I do is I serve technology clients. So I have a view from the outside looking into their businesses and understand some of the challenges that they're facing. Many of my clients are either wrestling with how to deploy or implement AI into their businesses, and many of them are actually building products in the ecosystem. So hopefully we'll bring kind of an interesting perspective from somebody who sees that from the outside looking in.
Hey guys, I'm Abhinai from Mashgin. So at Mashgin, we make self-checkout systems that use AI. It's a pretty cool experience if you've ever used it. Some of you have already used it. You can take a bunch of items, just throw it into the machine. It recognizes everything and it brings you up. So the entire experience is really fast. And this panel is about trust in AI. And trust can mean a lot of different things, and we'll talk a lot about different aspects of trust. But let me add this one thing, which is, do I trust my own machines? One of the first client demos that we ever did, we really tried hard. This is a while back. And with much fanfare, we put a slice of pizza into the machine, and the answer came out banana. That was a very sad day. Since then, it came to for several years after that, every time I was giving a demo of my machines, while from the outside I would try to look very confident. Inside, my heart was always going fast. It's please be right, please be right, please be right. And now it hasn't happened for several years. Now I trust our machines. So that's one aspect of trust we may even want to talk about is do we even trust AI itself?
Yeah, let's talk about that. But Abhinai, I'm gonna keep with you for a moment, because from the outset of founding Mashgin, you really did build trust into the concept. It was very important to you as you were thinking about your customers. And I would love for you just to share with the audience a little bit about that journey and why, as a CEO and founder of an AI company, you chose to go that route, because not everyone does.
Yeah, so if you interact with AI in an online world, you know that it's however you interact with it, it all goes into data. But for us, with using cameras, if a camera is pointed at me personally, suddenly it becomes very personal to me. It becomes very real. And for me, actually, it starts with data, where if we collect any kind of data and we promise we won't do something about it, a company is not just one person, it's several people, and in future, somebody could use that data. So for us, it was very important to make sure that we don't collect the data, we don't collect any personal information. And so when we were originally thinking about our idea, we started with a room scale solution, but then I realized that with so many cameras, the way to make it work, we would need so many cameras that are looking at people. And to me, that felt very creepy, to be honest. And it didn't feel right. And especially like, I mean, again, the moment a camera looks at you, suddenly it becomes very personal. And to me, that was just like, that was a line I drew. And I was like, okay, we have to build something where the cameras are looking inwards into something and definitely not at the people. And so even today, like with the final version of the machine that we have minimized how much these cameras look outside and completely look inwards. And we try not to collect too much data or even these images to the extent possible. Because I know that, like even in my company, there are a lot of people who want to collect all sorts of usage data. They want to collect everything. And I was the reason when we said, no, we are not going to do that. Because if we do and if we keep it, in future, if I'm not around, somebody else will want to use it. And so that was very important to me. And it's been a DNA of our company to not collect the data that in any way could be personal to anyone.
Abhinai, has that led to additional business opportunities because you took that stance early on?
I would say yes. I would say that during a big deal that we were kind of trying to win, somebody like the client who was trying to evaluate us versus some other solutions out there, and the CTO, who was a lady, she was like, yeah, I find those solutions to be very creepy as well. And yours, I actually like just because it doesn't make me feel creeped out.
Well, that's a good business lesson for us all out there. Don't make your products creepy. So I think a good lesson there. Davis, let's turn it to you. One of the things I've been tracking is the Edelman Trust Barometer, which looks at trust across all aspects of business and has really dug into AI here in the last few years. And what's interesting in the Trust Barometer is that the actual percentages of people that don't trust AI and the AI companies is going up. So it's about 15% of the respondents do not trust AI in the US. And I'm curious what you're seeing with your clients in terms of their ability to trust AI and just why you think that is. Why do you think as we're adopting this technology even more so, our trust levels are going down?
Yeah, John, I'll speak to some of the details that are in that study. Spent some time looking at that myself. And I think, first of all, it's a huge study, right? It surveys 32,000 people across 28 countries. So it's a very, very reflective study of sort of sentiment around AI. I think the first thing to recognize is that AI is a transformational technology. And if you look back at history, every major innovation came with a significant amount of concern of what could happen. Humans, society, and culture tend to resist change, innovation, and in many ways can fear it in some cases. And so if we look at what has been well spoken about the rapid advancement of AI and generative AI, there has been a lot spoken around, getting this technology into the wrong hands could cause harm. And I think that's a real risk and a real concern. But what they're all also talking about is that the good, the possibility that come from this technology is expected to far outweigh the bad. So I think that's just recognizing, and that's what I believe sort of the sort of increased distrust in technology and AI that study measures from. That study also points to the fact that, although there's decreased trust levels, that there is still the greatest trust in business to innovate and to integrate that innovation into society. And so that's where, in this audience, and the way that we would think about it, and the way that my clients think about it, is it's a big responsibility. We've got a very powerful technology on our hands, building trust into the core of the product, showcasing and clearly exhibiting what data you're collecting, what data you're not keeping, what access to other tools that are out there is really important, so that as these things become more readily available, that businesses and consumers are understanding, how it's being used.
So we're here kind of piggybacking on the Dreamforce conference, where they're talking all about these issues and talking about AI and trust specifically. And I know you sat in on some sessions today. I'm curious if any insights that kind of spoke to you as it relates to this topic.
Yeah, definitely. I think, one thing that was evidently clear in the keynote this morning, hopefully many of you saw it, was Mark really talking about, even though that their AI is becoming much, much more powerful, capable, is producing significant results, still core to everything they do is what they call their trust layer. And so I think that Salesforce has done a really good job. They've got access to a vast amount of significant enterprise data, and they're doing a really good job of keeping that safe and private.
Yeah. So back at Mashgin, when you're looking across your product and how you're designing it, what are some other aspects of kind of the trust factor that you think about when you're building new versions of the product? Now you were just showing us some cool new aspects and new versions, which looks really cool. So,
Yeah, actually, this is a question I struggle with and think about a lot, and I struggle with it every day. Is, for example, something as simple as facial recognition, right? That could make loyalty and payments so much faster. I mean, right now, the slowest part of using our machine is the payments, right? A person has to fish out their card and tap it on the screen. But then when I think about it, I'm like, as cool as it may be, the reason we haven't done it is because the moment we point a camera at somebody's face, the problem is that I do not have their consent beforehand that I can look at their face, right? And so that's something I really struggle with every day. But that said, I mean, like, there are ways in which we can make things better and just like more open. And I personally don't like the idea of self-checkout as much as I like the idea of I don't want to remove human interaction from the flow of buying things. In fact, I want to talk about a world where when somebody can take their best cashier and make them 5 times faster. So it is all about like, how do we make the same human faster at doing whatever they're doing, and not have to deal with like, picking up items and scanning them one by one. Can AI be a tool in our case to make somebody's day much better? And that's really the direction that we are taking in terms of our new product design, on how do we keep the best elements of the human interaction and make it a part of customers' experience.
And some of that gets into just transparency with the customer, being upfront about what you're providing to them. And I'm curious if either of you could just share kind of best practices that you've seen in terms of offering that data transparency in your products that you're offering.
Yeah, I'll touch on something. One thing you just said that reminded me, and then I'll get to your question, John. I think so. Facial recognition. How many of you checked in this morning with your face at check-in? Right. I didn't remember that I opted into that, and I turned around and instantly I was approved via an iPad camera, and I had to remember that, like, I think I said it was okay to check in with my face, and so that technology. And then I was out and I was done. I was like, oh, that was actually kind of pleasant, but it still caught me off guard, right? I still had like, did I say it was okay to like take a picture of my face? So to your point of just that consent and how quickly the technology can get creepy. So back to the question. Sorry, I thought that was anecdotal and fun. From a best practices perspective, so at RSM, I'll see this a couple ways. I have a client base that's in the AI space, and then we help our clients deploy AI. And what I see in my clients, the companies that are actually building AI tools, is they spend a ton of time and resource publishing resources and tools and videos that showcase what their tool is, what it's collecting, what data it has access to, how it actually works, so that their customers and people that are looking to this company to utilize have a clear understanding going into the sales cycle of what they're getting into. And I think that transparency up front is really helpful.
Abhinai, how do you feel about that issue? And what have you done at Mashgin?
Yeah, so how many of you ever read the privacy policy of any website you visit, right? It's several pages long, and I don't think I've ever read it fully ever in my life. And that's one problem. Even if we are transparent about it in theory, we really have to make it easy for people to understand, which is somewhat easier for us in the physical world, because as I said, if I don't have a camera looking at you, it's looking somewhere down, you kind of realize that there's nothing we can do and we are not capturing anything that you don't want us to capture. But in general, I wish there were a world where anytime somebody was capturing any sort of data, they just wrote it in 1 or 2 sentences, this is what we are storing about you. Because otherwise, it's very easy to hide your real intentions and the legalese and bury it somewhere deep inside, right? And that's exactly, at least on our website, in a place we say like, hey, we do not we do not, for example, collect any kind of PII information about you, right? And we understand that when people use the machines, they can already see that we cannot collect any facial. But if we did, I would want to make sure there is a one line somewhere very straightforward, we do not. And if we have to make it easy, it's not just enough for us to put it somewhere on our website. It has to be front and center.
So we're about ready to wrap up, but let's just give like last quick, rapid fire here on this last question. I would love for you just each to give your greatest hopes and fears as it relates to trustworthiness and AI.
You want to go first?
I guess for me, my greatest hope is that it solves some of the world's most challenging problems: healthcare, financial stability for people. I think that there's a lot of opportunity there.
And for me, I think the biggest thing I can think of is there's a lot of people out there who do things which are so repetitive all day long. And I wish AI would free us humans to focus on the creative aspects that we were all good at and not be used. Like the simplest example is human labor versus when steam engine was invented and humans were finally free from having to do that. Something similar to free humans to be creative. Really, that's what I wish for.
Great. Do we have time for one more, or are we wrapping? We're wrapping. Okay. Well, thanks again, Abhinai, Davis. Really appreciate the conversation. I know people want to get to the appetizers and drinks, and a big thanks to RSM for hosting us here in this beautiful venue. And thank you for the discussion today.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you.